Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. Pam Nemec, thank you so much for being our guest on the Mike Litton Experience. I'm super excited for our time together, and I know for a fact that my dad's going to be incredibly jealous. So, like we talked about before we hit record, everybody has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. So with your permission, we're going to start with where you were born, go all the way up to today, and then we want to talk about this sort of amazing thing that you're doing in coaching these C-suite executives on how to communicate better and relate better to their employees. I love what you're doing, and we need more of it. We need more of what you're doing, big time. So I'm so excited for you to be here. Thanks again.
Thank you. I'm excited. And shout out to Larry, who loves his Whataburger. That is awesome.
Yes, he does, baby. Yes, he does.
I think that's so cool.
We all have our addictions, right?
There's a lot of fans out there, and I think that it's great that he has been such a fan for so long. So hi, Larry. I hope I meet you one day.
Yeah, you will one of these days, I'm sure. So where were you born?
I was born in, I was born in College Station, Texas. My dad was getting his master's degree at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And I am one of 4 children. So they already had my older sister, my brother, and then I came along. And then, of course, I have a baby sister. But yeah, I was born in College Station.
Wow.
But then we moved eventually. And I was actually raised in Portland, Texas, which is right by Corpus Christi.
Gotcha. So what was your favorite thing about growing up in Portland?
Oh, wow. That's so fun. That's a fun question. It was a very small town. And I think what I loved about it is the people.
Yeah.
The people it was such a community. People took care of each other. You just knew everyone.
Yeah.
I remember in high school, one of the things we did, this was before cell phones, right? We would drive up and down what they called Wildcat Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And that is how we found our friends to decide what we were going to do that night.
Mm-hmm.
And the meeting place, oddly enough, was Whataburger. There was a Whataburger on the corner there at Wildcat Drive, and I think it's 181 that runs through there. And that's where we would all meet, and we would all park our cars in the parking lot and wait for friends to show up, load up, and go wherever we were going that night. And yeah, I loved that. I loved the football games. I love that traditional, being raised in such a traditional town. It was just neat. It was different.
Yeah. So in high school, did you have a favorite subject?
Oh yeah, it was English. I liked writing. I liked reading. I was when I was younger, I was a total book nerd, and I loved sitting. I would sit in the stands at my mom. My mom was a basketball coach for a while, so I would sit in the stands and half watch the game and half read my books. And for whatever reason, I was really obsessed with Abraham Lincoln. So I see myself in pictures reading these Abraham Lincoln books, sitting in the stands at basketball games. But yeah, I always liked English, writing, storytelling, that sort of thing.
Did you play any sports?
I did. I played basketball. I played volleyball. I ran track for a short period of time until my parents realized that I was so thin when I was little. I was just extremely skinny. So we would, down in Corpus, first of all, it's hot down there. And so I ran summer track.
Wow.
And let me tell you, my, probably at the time 90-pound self could not handle eat. So when they realized that every day when I would pick me up, I was having to pull over the car to throw up, they decided that maybe track wasn't for me. So that was the end of my track profession. And I really went into more like basketball, volleyball. Even I did a little bit of drama. I was in the, I did acting on stage. I was a singer. I sang with my sister, who is still a singer today. So yeah, that was kind of how I kept myself busy in high school.
Did you have a favorite sport?
I liked volleyball, but I have to tell you, I wasn't great at either. I wasn't good at the sports, and I think that I was okay. I just wasn't great at it. But I still enjoyed it because it was the team. I liked being part of the team. It was they became my great friends. So, I was okay. I was probably, again, I was so thin. I needed a little more beef, meat on my bones to be able to be really good at that. But yeah, so that's what I did when I was in high school.
Gotcha. So growing up, who was the most influential person to you?
Mm. Honestly, it's both my parents, but my mom and I are still so close to this day. Um, I had such a good childhood, uh, and I think going back to being so thin. This sounds so weird to talk about this, but when I was younger, I was so skinny that I got bullied, and so my self place to fall at the end of the day was always my family.
Yeah.
So when you think about the influence that I have in my life, it's really very much surrounded by family. Um, and so my mom has just always been such a rock for me. She's always given me such sound advice, no matter what I've been going through. And I just admire the way she lives her life. She was a school teacher for over 30 years. She also coached sports, golf, basketball. She was just really, but she was also such a good mom. She always made time for us, even though she had all these other things that she was juggling.
Yeah.
And I just admire that. I think that when you can be good at your job, but also good at being a parent. I think it's a tough balance, but she did it so well. And of course, my dad, he was the strong, silent type. He was a hard worker too. He was a geologist for Pennzoil, and so he was going to work every day. And it's interesting because it was such an 8 to 5 job. He was home at 5:30 on the dot every day, and that was just kind of the upbringing. We had dinner at the table every night with the whole family, unless we were at somebody's athletic event,
Right.
So yeah, that was kind of my upbringing. And then we had our grandparents were very close by too. So we were all very close, and aunts and uncles. And, you might be able to relate to that, being from a small town too. It's not just your core family, it's the extended family.
Yeah, the
And so,
cousins and the aunts and uncles, and right.
yeah. So family is just huge to me. It always has been. And I've just been very fortunate that I had a good one.
Yeah.
You know.
Some of the best parents are the best coaches.
Oh, my mother was a great coach, and she was also one of the most favorite teachers that they had at the high school. People loved her.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think she took all that teaching and that experience we had, and it's like that in our parenting experience, we had the same.
Yeah.
And so I think that you're right. I think there's a correlation there for sure.
Absolutely. So you graduate high school. Where do you go?
I went to a college in San Marcos, Texas, called Texas State University.
Yeah.
At the time, it was not called Texas State University. It was actually Southwest Texas State University. And so I went there. And it was funny because when I went there, I thought, I'm just going to go here for a couple of years, and then I'll probably transfer to the University of Texas. And that was my plan, but I loved it. And again, I think there's a pattern in my life where I really like community, and I like that smaller feel. So what happened is I got into Texas State or Southwest Texas, started making friends. started getting involved in the university.
Yeah.
And then I didn't want to leave.
You got kind of
Right.
entrenched. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to leave. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I ended up getting a great education there. I made a lot of good friends. My professors knew my name. I was on different competitions and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And it led me to my first job. So it just turned out to be the right decision for me. Even though there were times in my life later that I was like, oh, it'd be nice to be able to say I graduated from the University of Texas or Texas A&M or one of the larger universities. But the truth is, that university served me very well,
Yeah.
and it led to all the different things that ended up happening in my life. So it was a good move for me.
What did you get your degree in?
I got my degree in mass communication with a
Okay.
specialization in writing,
Okay.
and it was also that, now these kids go into school and they have to know what they want to be when they're 18 years old or younger,
Mhm.
starting school. And I was like, thank God I didn't have to know that, because I
Yeah.
wasn't sure at 18,
Right. A lot
I
of
didn't
people are.
know.
A lot of
No, it's
people
like
are.
that's a hard decision to make, because you're making it, and at least you feel like I'm making this decision that's going to impact the rest of my life.
Mhm.
And so thankfully my parents and the university did not pressure me to say this is what you're going to be and you are unable to change it once you make this decision, right?
Mhm.
So I didn't start out in mass communication. I actually started out in teaching. Then I went into, maybe I want to be in psychology or a counselor, so I went into that. Um, and so it was these different little classes I would take along the way, and I would take a course and be like, either I love that or absolutely not. I
Mhm.
don't want to do that. And
Yeah.
so those first two paths were not for me. And then I took an intro to advertising class, and that was it. When
Yeah.
I saw the intro to advertising class and I started taking the PR classes and I started taking going down the mass comm lane, I really was like, this makes so much sense to me.
Yeah.
This is what I want to do. And so that's how I ended up with that degree. I found my way. It wasn't a straight path, that's for sure.
So a couple of real quick questions.
hmm
Number one, in high school, did you have a favorite teacher
You
other than
know,
mom?
other than mom, yeah. Um, There are a few that I really like. There was a guy named Mr. Schutz,
Mhm.
and he was a very quirky kind of character, and he taught the debate team, but he also taught other courses. And so I had him a couple of times, and he was so funny and he was engaging and he would joke around with the kids, but he
Mhm.
was also very um, skilled at what he was doing. And
Mhm.
I liked that combination, right? So I think that's why I was drawn to him. I was like, this is somebody who is very competent in what he's doing, but he also doesn't take himself so seriously that you can't relate to him. And so he was just a good combination of that. And so I just always got a kick out of him, even as a teenager. I remember him, and I just enjoyed his class.
Captain of the debate team.
you know, that is being a debater is tough.
Yeah.
My strength was more the drama, the acting and singing and that sort of thing. But I would have friends that were on the debate team, and we would travel together to those speech tournaments. I don't know if you did
Mhm.
all that.
I did
Yeah.
all 4 years.
Oh yeah, me too. It's boy, talk about great training,
Yeah.
But yeah, we did that. So we would travel with the debate team. We were doing the drama things, they were doing the debate stuff, and I always admired it because
Mhm.
there's a friend of mine. His name was Mike Farr, and he was great at it. And I just remember sitting there thinking, how do you guys do this?
Mhm.
It's tough, but that's what he taught, and I,
Mhm.
I just, I don't know, I just admired it. Thought it was
So
cool.
I farmed in Oklahoma in between Ponca City and Blackwell
Yeah.
with my grandfather for 9 years.
Mm.
And when I was 13, my parents told us that they were leaving to go to California. And I said, "Well, no thanks. I'm not going anywhere." And they sort of looked at me and they said, "You're not 18 yet.
Yeah.
You have to go with us." And I said, "I'm not
Right.
going. I'm staying here. I'm going to be a farmer. I'm done. I'm here."
That's what you're
Right.
doing. Yeah.
And so we ended up coming to a compromise. And the compromise was that I would go to California with them and I'd go to school in California. But every day of summer, I would be in on the farm in Oklahoma working. And what that meant was my mother had to go register me for class because registration took, a week or two ahead of starting class. So she calls me up and she says, your freshman registration is done. You had to choose an elective. And so I chose the elective for you. I chose speech class. And there was sort of this awkward silence on the phone. And I said, Mom, I don't have a lisp. I don't have a stutter. I'm a pretty articulate kid. I don't know why in the world you would put me in a speech class. And she said, well, it's not that kind of speech class. This is a speech class to learn how to speak in public. I'm like, no, thanks. She goes, tell you what, take the class. If you don't like it, you can drop it. You have to make it up somewhere, but if you don't like it, you can drop it. I'm giving you permission ahead of time, right? Okay. So I go to my first class and the teacher is Mr. Roach. Mr. Roach is one of the quirkiest, most intense, interesting people you've ever met in your life. Okay. Yeah. And he gives us our first assignment. And our first assignment is to pick something that is our favorite thing and give a speech on it.
Yeah.
At the next class. Oh my goodness. I'm a freshman in high school. Do you think I was nervous getting up in front of it? Oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
And so I get up and I do the speech and I'm literally up there going, you are terrible at this. You're awful. You're terrible at this. You're right. And I went and I sat down and I'm like, I'm dropping this class so fast. It's going to make everybody's head spin. Okay.
Oh, gosh.
After class, Mr. Roach says, Mr. Litton, will you stay for a couple of minutes? I'm like, oh, great. I said something I'm in trouble. I'm going to go, now I got to go see the vice principal, right? I was in so much trouble in high school that the principal and I were on a first name basis. When I was a freshman, I went to my first time to the vice president's office. After about 3 minutes with him, he walked me down to the president's office, the principal's office, walked me down to the principal's office and said, here, I can't handle him. You take him. That's literally what happened. Really? So for the next 3 years plus, almost 4 years, I had to deal with the principal. I couldn't deal with the vice principal because he couldn't deal with me.
Wow.
I'm a handful, right?
I was about to ask you, Mike. I was going to say, I'm like, okay, I want to hear more about that.
I respect authority, right? But I was just too much for the man. I mean, I don't know how to explain it, right?
Maybe you had really good debate skills.
Apparently, right? And so,
yeah.
And so he asked me to stay back and I'm thinking, oh, I'm in trouble. I did something wrong. And he said, listen, he goes, you are one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. I went, after that speech that you just watched me do? No, I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, we have a speech tournament this Saturday at San Diego State University. He said, the bus comes here at 7 a.m. or leaves here at 7 a.m. He said, if you'd like to go and just check it out, no pressure, just check it out and let me know what you think. I'd love for you to go. Okay. So 7 a.m. on Saturday, I'm on the bus and we go to San Diego State.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah.
And I walked around and I watched the debate. I watched the debate rounds. I watched the speaking rounds. And I walked out of there going, I can do this so much better than they can. I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. And I ended up graduating from high school in the top 1/2% of competitive public speakers in the nation.
Wow.
High school. So it was cool. It was really cool. And this man had won national championships and, the whole thing, right?
Yeah. But that's an influential person in your life. That was a turning point, right? You have this other vice principal saying, I can't even deal with him. You deal with him. Yeah. And then you have this other guy saying, I see something in you and there's a talent. And that's, to me, that's so huge when people can step in and help somebody that really you weren't looking for that. No. Right?
Not even
in
close.
fact, you were ready to drop the class.
Yeah. I was trying to get back to Oklahoma. Right? Like I literally had just left. I worked all summer in the field and I was trying to get back to Oklahoma. I wanted to farm for the rest of my life. I was, I was 13 years old and I was responsible for 3,000 acres.
Wow.
I mean, I had a lot going on. right? To say
Yeah.
that is an understatement. And then here I am, a freshman in high school going, this is boring. I don't, this is right. And it caught my attention and it grabbed me and it got a hold of my competitive juices, got them flowing. And, the rest, as they say, is history, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
That's
it was
awesome.
really a cool experience. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And, it was somebody who found something in me that I didn't know I had.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
for
wild.
sure.
So that's why I always ask about teachers, because like
Yeah.
my mother-in-law was a teacher for 30 years and I couldn't have
Yeah.
admired her more if I tried.
Yeah.
So in college, did you have a favorite professor?
Oh, yeah, I did. I was on a team. It was the American Advertising Federation. And so her name is Mary Ann Stutz, or Dr. Stutz. And there's a theme here, Shuts and Stutz.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Dr. Stutz was her name, and she was fantastic. And again, she was one of those people that just cared so much about us. And she
Yeah.
would be there till midnight with us preparing for this competition. As a matter of fact, we ended up going to nationals. I was a presenter on the team and all of these things. And so it was just a great experience. But Mary Ann and I stay in touch to this day. We still talk, right? And that was 30 years ago
Yeah.
that I was there. And she was one of those professors that you could tell she cared way more about us than she cared about the actual competition. The competition was just a way for her to connect to us, to teach us, and to give us the experiences that we needed to be successful in life. And I think that's what I admired about her. Plus, she was just so relatable. So yeah, I did. That was one. I mean, I had a lot of good professors, but Mary Ann stands out for sure.
Do you mind if I point something out to you?
Sure.
I want to acknowledge you. That's one of your superpowers,
Really? What's that?
is you care more about your audience than you do about yourself.
That is probably true.
You can see it.
Yeah.
You can absolutely see it.
Yeah.
It is one of the most attractive things about you, and it's one of your superpowers.
Thank you. Thank you. That means a lot because, um, I think if people can focus on serving somebody, the rest falls into place,
Yeah.
right? And so, I guess that's why I do admire people like Marianne and people like Mr. Schutz, and some of the leaders that I've had. The CEO that I worked for 18 years at Whataburger. I admired him for that. He cared so much about people. It was never the bottom line did not come first.
Yeah.
Was he managing it? Of course he was. You have to, but he managed it in a way that was respectful of the people, and so did the chairman, who was a part of the family who owned Whataburger. And I just really respected that kind of leadership. And I look for that, and I'm trying now to influence other leaders to say, you can be a great leader, um, through influence, through caring, through connecting with them, through communicating and understanding what's going on in their life, asking the right questions, um, and helping them through tough times. Those are the things that really connect people to you.
Yeah.
And it's really it's not that hard,
Yeah.
right? I think leaders, and especially in the C-suite, think they have to be a certain way.
Yeah.
They think they have to be the hard-nosed boss who knows it all. And by God, we're going to get these results no matter what, and so on.
And you're going to do it because I said so.
And you're going to do it because I said so. And here's what I would say to that. That might work for a little while, but you're never going to become this remarkable brand I talk about by taking that approach. The remarkable brands, the Whataburgers of the world, when I worked there, that comes from a deeper place. It comes from a place of caring and a connection. and a kind of a passion for the brand
Mm-hmm.
that elevates performance.
Yeah.
And you can't get that by demanding it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really admire about the leaders I've had the opportunity to work for. And there's leaders that I've worked for that I don't admire that.
Mm-hmm.
And but all of those experiences have taught me, the way I want to lead.
Yeah.
And so now what I love is that I'm getting to kind of package that up and show people like, hey, you don't just need to think about it. You don't need to be wondering about it and saying, oh, it'd be nice if I could lead that way. There's some systems behind that you can actually put into place that will create behaviors and create accountability to what you're saying you want to be.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's missing right now in companies. People get frustrated with CEOs. They get frustrated with their leaders, and they think, man, he doesn't tell me what's going on, or she's not ever taking time to connect with me, and I never get to see her, and she cancels my meetings all the time, or those types of things, right? That's frustrating to employees.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I advocate for, because I have been that leader, I've been that person where I'm so busy and I want to be a good leader, but I just don't have the time because I'm stuck in meetings all day.
Yeah.
The only way I was able to be a better leader was to hold myself accountable by ensuring processes and systems that made sure I led in the way I wanted to lead.
Mm-hmm.
And which is crazy for me to say because I am not a big process systems type person. But I've learned that when you have a team, for me, I started with a team of 2, it grew to 200.
Mm-hmm.
When I had 2 people on the team, I could just walk across the hall and we could have a little chit chat and everybody knew what they were going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had a team of 200 in the field and they were in the home office and they were scattered all about, I had to get a lot more intentional about the way I communicated and the way I connected.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel for leaders who are still trying to operate in that hallway talk type leadership when they really need a more systematic way of connecting people. And it's still valuable, right? People go, well, that's not authentic and I need it to be more. No, that's an excuse. You have got to be able to say, I have set aside time to do this, and I will not take it off my calendar. This is when I'm going to connect to my people. This is when I'm going to communicate. This is how we're going to communicate. Here are the systems we're going to use. And I just think that's really important. I think it's important for any leader, but I specifically think it's important for CEOs who are trying to cobble messages together with maybe their admin or somebody in HR. Is really focusing on how do you want your vision, mission, strategy to be communicated, and how are you as a CEO inspiring people to want to do all this work that you're asking people to do, right?
Yeah.
So it's just a different approach, right? And obviously I've seen wildly successful companies do it.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.